likes me, Andrew? What if they don't like me?
Well,
What if they
luckily,
don't like my ideas?
well, then we'll just have to.
Shoot.
All right, we're live.
What?
Hold on.
We are live, and the bell is ringing. Welcome, everybody. If anybody is, Stephanie has dropped out. No, Stephanie's. Welcome, everybody. If anybody is yet watching us, I have assembled a panel of Jordan Peterson experts, and we're going to discuss some of his. We're going to discuss some of his take on morality, on Western civilization, and would you like to introduce yourself, Andrew? Why don't you start?
Sure thing. I'm Andrew Stratelites. I'm part of the Red Pill Religion Project. I occasionally blog, and you can find me on Twitter at @astratelites. And I'm actually a big fan of Jordan Peterson, and I'm an Anglican Christian. So that's me in a nutshell.
Cool. John, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah. I'm a writer, John Buck, on Twitter. I'm kind of raised in a kind of Messianic Judaism, non-denominational faith, and now just kind of trying to explore out further the meanings behind religion and all that. And so, yeah, Peterson has been a great introduction to think about faith and religion from a more
He's a big influence
sophisticated
on you too.
Perspective. Yes, definitely. Yeah.
And you're in a. Tell them a little bit about the Peterson group.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've been part of a online Peterson group where we talk pretty much every week, going over like the his lectures that he's put online, like his Maps of Meaning courses and personality, and his biblical lectures, and going over some of the books that he's recommended. Like we went over his own book, Maps of Meaning, and several other books that are kind of part of his repertoire. And so that's the jordanbpeterson.community, or it's just jordanbpeterson.community. That has the links to everything that we do during the week.
Maps of Meaning. I've started watching this series on YouTube. It's fantastic.
Definitely.
Stephanie, everybody's favorite Christian apologist is here. Stephanie, why don't you introduce yourself? Oh, God, Stephanie, I hate her so much. Introduce yourself, Stephanie.
that's very funny, Craig. Hi, I'm S.J. Thomason. You can reach me at christian-apologist.com. I do generate some attention on Twitter, and I can say the sky is blue, and people will tell me it's red or green or yellow. They'll just definitely want to write back on that little comment. So thank you for having me. I really enjoy it, and I do like Jordan Peterson. I really listen to a lot of his YouTube videos, and I haven't read his book yet, but I plan to.
Yes, we're all on our way to becoming Jordan Peterson experts. My name is Craig Reed. This is my humble little channel, soon to be huge channel. And John, why don't you start us off with the presentation, the thing on Nietzsche? Why don't start the ball rolling? Sure.
Well, I've read a few of Nietzsche's books. I actually probably like Nietzsche almost as much as Peterson, or at least I like Peterson because he's kind of been a good introduction to Nietzsche and getting a better understanding of just what it would mean to have no basis for rationality or truth or anything like that to guide our understanding.
Who's doing the Marx Brothers thing? What is that?
I think that's my phone vibrating. I don't. Oh, you guys! I gotta put it on Do Not Disturb because of all the tweet notifications. So yeah, I guess with Nietzsche's kind of held up as the anti-Christian, like the most extreme anti-Christian that could be out there, really, just because of how far he goes, like in the opposite direction between, like he sees Christianity as basically Platonism, which is kind of the belief in the metaphysical forms and all of that. And so Nietzsche is very much the opposite of that, kind of in a very materialistic or monistic, where everything is all, I guess, part of the same thing. I don't know too much on Nietzsche exactly, and like his exact metaphysics.
Well, the thing I wanted to start off with was there's a key talking point by Jordan Peterson that involves Nietzsche, and he said it on YouTube about 5, 6, 7 times now. What it sort of relates to is, it's one thing I brought up in the video, is that when Nietzsche said God is dead, now I'm paraphrasing Jordan Peterson right now. When Nietzsche said God is dead, what he meant, one of the possible meanings is that Christianity is dying out as an organizing principle of civilization. And Nietzsche was not optimistic about that per se. He said it was going to lead to the nihilism of the 20th century, and that one of the things that Jordan Peterson has said, kind of word for word, is that if we knock out the transcendental morality from society, and this is Jordan Peterson paraphrasing Nietzsche, we're going to struggle, that it's society is the potential for society to collapse. Does everybody understand? Are we clear? Anyone speak? Jump in. Jump in whenever you want.
So two things is, one is that Nietzsche actually prophesied, and I'll use that explicitly as the word, the type of violence that occurred in the Soviet Union and with the communist revolutions.
Exactly.
And he specifically figured out that it would be socialism to do this, or socialism that would cause this. And he thought that it would be a worthwhile experiment, right? Because Nietzsche's hope was that through this death of God, we would rediscover some will to power, or heroically basically overcome our lack of metaphysics, and either transform ourselves as humans into something that's more human, or give birth to a new species. And I'll go ahead and read the second part of the quote about the death of God that most people ignore. And Nietzsche says, God is dead, God remains dead, and we have killed him. How shall we comfort ourselves, the murderers of all murderers? What was holiest and mightiest of all that the world yet owned has bled to death under our knives? Who will wipe this blood off of us? What water is there for us to clean ourselves? What festivals of atonement, what sacred games shall we have to invent? Is not the greatness of this deed too great for us? Must we ourselves not become gods simply to appear worthy of it? And this was sort of the point that Nietzsche was making, is that, and he thought that basically that we would go into crisis, right? That the one option is for us to sort of atrophy and decay as Western civilization into nothing, with this lack of grounding. The other is to sort of foment a crisis that's tumultuous, and something good something alive can come out of it, and that I think is sort of Nietzsche's primary mistake. He makes two primary mistakes. One is he actually has too much faith in humanity, and two, he mischaracterizes Christianity as something that is based in resentment or resentiment, which is this sort of almost like jealousy or envy of those who have power by those that are weak, and sort of distorts it into, instead of just being jealous of it, you say, well, to be strong is actually to be evil. And he thought that this was sort of the fundamental tenet of Christianity. And there is a temptation with certain types of Christianity, especially things in liberal theology, to go that direction. But I think that he mischaracterized it, and part of that was through his sort of a lack of knowledge of the deeper parts of Christianity.
Okay, so that's actually a very, very excellent summation of Nietzsche as far as I'm concerned. Stephanie, do you want to jump in? Anything to say?
No, I think he actually that's a great summation, and actually just highlighting the fact of what happened in the last century is pretty important, and Nietzsche portended that. So if we look at what happened with Stalin and Mao Zedong and the other one, Pol Pot, it was all predicted by Nietzsche.
Right. Now, the question is, and one of the things that Jordan Peterson argues, based off of a lot of what Andrew just said, is that that's one of the outcomes. Now, this is the question. I'll put it out to the table, and anyone jump in. Is that the outcome of one of the key arguments underneath all this is that Christianity, or the transcendent morality, however you want to define it, once you take that away, this is the logical outcome, is that people without God are going to create sort of pseudo evil religions like communism, like fascism. Anybody?
Well, I want to bring up one, I guess, core aspect to Nietzsche is his rejection of morality in its entirety. Like, if you consider, like, that which is evil could be defined as like that which should not be, or that which it would have been better if this had not existed. Uh, the entire concept of evil is a negation of against that which already exists, and if there is the, I guess, objective understanding that there are things that exist that are evil, that means there are things that exist that should not exist, and that is, with the death of God, there all what's left is still this objective morality that we have, where there are good things and evil things, and things, especially with World War II, we get a very firm we get a very firm understanding that there are evil acts that should not exist, and that should not be committed by people. And because the, I guess, sensibilities of people were at the time of the death of God was to reject religion and all that was about faith, you're left with this. You're still left with the evil that's there within the world. It's kind of like the atheist dilemma, where the problem of evil kind of disproves a loving God that created the world. But once you get rid of the loving God that created the world, you're still left with the problem of evil, and thus you're kind of stuck with nihilism, because there's no way of, I guess, returning that evil over for good, like justifying it in some fashion, and that's why, yeah.
Yeah, and just to riff off of that,
Mm-hmm.
Nietzsche's great philosophical enemy was Plato, and Plato. One of the things that Plato sort of affirms is that the universe is ordered in such a sense that we can understand the order of the universe, and in some sense, order rules and chaos is transient. And Nietzsche's perspective was the opposite. He thought that basically order is transient and chaos is what rules. And if that's the case, then there isn't really sort of an objective morality that you can appeal to, but all that you are sort of left with is poetry, right, or storytelling. And the question is, what story are you going to tell, and how are you going to fulfill your will in the world? And that's sort of the hope that he had through this nihilism, that people would embrace it, sort of a heroic, life-affirming mechanism. And this is sort of ironically the point where Nietzsche actually is a Platonist. Is one of the things that he used to overcome this is this concept of eternal recurrence, right? So he basically believed or acted as though the universe itself would repeat over and over endlessly in the same occurrences over and over again. And then what this means is what you do now will eternally happen over and over again. And there's, and I'm paraphrasing poorly, but the choice, he says, that you basically have is, let's imagine that you're in the depth of your suffering, right? And this demon appears to you and says, this will eternally recur over and over again. And the sort of change that Nietzsche made, or question he posed to the reader, was, would you be horrified by this, or would you respond to the demon, this is amazing and the greatest heroic opportunity I've ever heard of? Right, and that's what his hope was, that even though we don't have this value structure or even order in general, that we can appeal to sort of a poetic heroism of the human condition. And the thing is, though, you can't, right? Because if you're appealing to that, you're actually appealing to a sense of order.
Even if what you're appealing to is a fiction that, like, just like Nietzsche created the fiction of the eternal recurrence, is it an appeal to order, or is it appeal to a fiction?
Yeah, and that's sort of ambiguous, right? And this gets into existentialism. If it's a fiction, but you live your life as though it's true, is it really a fiction to you?
Mm.
Stephanie? She's still here.
I'm here. Hi.
Oh,
I had to make a couple quick phone calls, so I missed a little bit. Sorry about that.
Okay.
Oh.
So
She wasn't still here.
my husband was calling. We're leaving tomorrow to take my sister is getting married. So
Oh, cool.
Awesome.
a lot of last minute crazy shopping and picking stuff up. And I haven't even figured out what's old, what's new, what's something borrowed and blue. So I have to, I'm the matron of honor. I have to figure that out. So sorry for that.
Has everybody watched the Jordan Peterson, Sam Harris debates in this? Has everybody seen that?
Yes,
Yeah,
that was excellent.
Seen them a few, all of them, some of them a couple times. Yeah.
Well, I'm talking about the London and the Dublin and those are great. Now, the one thing I mentioned to you, John, is that one of the things that Sam Harris struggled with is that it was hard for Sam Harris. Tell me what you guys think of this. It was hard for Sam Harris to get out of his own ideology, where he kept trying to refer, like they agreed about on like 85% of everything they talked about, they would agree about. But Sam Harris had to keep routing it back to his ideological precept, which is that, by the way, religion sucks. Oh, wait, religion sucks. And he had to keep like rerouting the conversation back to that. Do you guys agree? Did you catch that? Well, what do you think?
I'll comment on that too.
Go ahead.
What's interesting on for both of those is they both hold a position that objective morality exists. So
Right.
Sam Harris holds a position objective morality exists. Jordan Peterson does. Jordan and I and all of you, I think, realize that means that it's grounded in God. It has to be grounded by something, and it's grounded by God because that something has to be transcendent to humans, because it is transcendent to humans that we observe, that we have this objective morality to do what's right and to follow the golden rule, and that transcends people, generations, and cultures. So it has to be grounded in something. Now, what Harris does is he grounds it in well-being. So he thinks that everyone has this desire to maximize their own well-being, and so the objective morality, according to him, is grounded in a desire for maximization of well-being. But he even notes in his book that Moral Landscape that basically there's flaws in his argument. He actually notes some of the flaws in his argument, like what if a psychopath thinks that maximizing his well-being is by murdering people? So the best outcome doesn't resolve.
The other thing with the other problem with the Sam Harris thing, I kind of like that Sam Harris grounds morality and well-being and makes it objective, because that's actually the first step in the right direction. It's just not a sufficient enough basis for morality. It leaves a lot out. But one of Jordan Peterson's best critiques against people like Sam Harris and the new atheists is that he is arguing that they have a precept that if you do away with religion altogether, that there's going to be some rational reason for people to be moral. And from his argument, Dostoevsky, Nietzsche, he's saying that's just there's no reason for us to believe that is the case. Andrew?
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. And part of it, and this is sort of a skeptical argument, is we actually don't know all of the functional mechanisms of religion, right? So, Sam Harris and Matt Delahunty, think that it's like the moral teachings that are the things that are effective. But it could actually be the case that like singing hymns is what really like brings it into your soul, into your character, and
or the superstitions, the superstitious parts. I agree. Totally. Keep going.
Yeah, or bowing together, or even the supernatural parts that we have no comprehension of, and it's the interaction of us with the supernatural and that experience through prayer and liturgy and things that actually grounds our ability to comprehend the morality and trains us. And that's sort of the thing, right? Is that we don't know all the things that religion does, and so we basically have this exotic alien device in some sense, and we have no idea what it is, but we know we've grown up in the shade of it, and that we survive with it. And then the other point is that, and this is sort of a subtle argument, is that a lot of these people claim that religion is bad because there is no God, or that belief in God is, not supportable. But the thing is, there's as much evidence to believe in objective morality as there is God, right? So if you can be skeptical of God and not use that as a ground of your metaphysics, then you can be skeptical of objective morality and discard that as the ground of your ethics. And there's no clear understanding of why you should reject one under these evidential standards and not the other.
John?
Yeah, I think I don't know, what sort of frustrates me about Sam Harris's moral landscape is that well-being is, like, he's admitted it himself, it's a suitcase kind of term that just, like, whatever it is that people agree on what is good, they'll put it in with the basket of well-being. And then his kind of loose definition of well-being is the positive conscious experiences of creatures. But he says at other times too that what the only people should in fact value is well-being, but he still holds towards the scientific truth of things instead of, like, you could certainly say that there are certain fictions that one could tell ourselves in order to have a more more positive conscious states of being. I think actually Jonathan Haidt brought up in one of his conversations or debates with Sam Harris that by our current measurements of well-being, the people with the highest sense of well-being are, at least in America, are the more conservative Christians that live within a tight religious community. And so definitely our social cohesion is a strong aspect that is necessary to have well-being. And I think that's the interesting things brought up through Jonathan Haidt, is that we are much more social than maybe Sam Harris might originally consider. Like, it's only the well-being of a single person.
I didn't actually realize that Sam Harris and Jonathan Haidt have conversations together. Where are those, on Sam Harris's podcast?
They have two podcasts together that
that's
are
cool.
The first one is a little bit more contentious between the two of them, so it's a little bit more interesting. And then there was another debate, like a sort of 4-person conversation on morality in general that they interacted a little bit, like 15 minutes of. That's on.
Oh, I think I've seen that one. I think that's on Pangburn.
I think maybe an interesting point to bring up is how Jonathan Haidt kind of brings morality into the conversation, because it seems like a quick reading of Jonathan Haidt's work on morality is that it is very much fluid and it's determined upon based upon the environment of a situation. Like, certain moralities will be more advantageous in a cooler climate or a warmer climate, or an environment in which people are closer in proximity to each other, or like it. I kind of see it how, like, when you're in larger cities that are more densely populated, it seems like a more liberal mentality or morality seems to spring up, because a lot of times you're interacting with people with foreign cultures to yourself, and there's kind of
it's also the type of people
to it.
But that's also the type of people who move to cities. I mean, there's a whole.
Yeah,
that's
true.
Whole,
like they have this a stronger desire to be around more novel
Right.
other
I mean,
individuals.
people who live in rural communities, the reason why they stay in rural communities is because they're more traditional by nature and they don't want to move to a city and they don't want to be cosmopolitan. So they're more likely to be. One of the things that actually Christianity, it doesn't necessarily go hand in hand that you become conservative when you become Christian, but you become more. I become a lot more respectful of like traditional type people than I was prior to being a Christian. Stephanie, you got something to say on that?
It's interesting because I'm actually, while we're speaking, I'm looking at a study by Shalom Schwartz. He's out of Hebrew University, and he's got the study that I was referring to before. He actually looked at 10 individual level values, and among those are things like conservatism and tradition. So there is a segment of the population definitely that focuses on that. But the reason I pulled this study out is because I wanted to highlight a comment in here that I think you guys are going to like that relates to the objective morality idea and the idea that there is a universal consensus. So listen to this. This is a man whose research, he had no desire to try to, he had no intentions of finding anything that actually offered proof of an objective morality, but it says, an astonishing finding of the cross-cultural research is the high level of consensus regarding the relative importance of the 10 values, of the 10 values across societies. In the vast majority of nations studied, benevolence, universalism, and self-direction values appear at the top of the hierarchy, and power, tradition, and stimulation values appear at the bottom. This implies that the aspects of human nature and of social functioning that shape individual value priorities are widely shared across cultures. Isn't that great?
Mm-hmm.
So what that says is, why is it that all, cultures are behind the idea of benevolence? Why aren't they behind some other sort of thing, or universalism, which is a desire to help other people?
Right. So, and the general answer to that is these things are built into the fabric of reality. And Jordan Peterson does this great analysis of the evolutionary biology, talking about these things and the actual circuitry we have. And the reason why we have that circuitry is it actually fits with something in the underlying nature of reality that we're created for. And so it's not only conceptually there that we can grasp it with our mind, but it's actually innate in our biology as well.
The other thing that Peterson talked about on this is that there's a dialogue, because one of the arguments against objective morality is that little kids don't, you're not born with any innate sense of morality. Well, you're not born with an innate sense of math either. It has to be taught to you. It doesn't mean there's no such thing as objective mathematical facts. And one of the things that he points out is it's a dialogue. You have moral intuitions, and our moral intuitions, while there's some evidence that they're not completely universal, there's also strong evidence that they at least tend to be universal. They we all sort of recoil morally at some of the same things. Yeah, there are cultural factors involved, but there are certain things that almost any normal human being, like torture of a small child, is going to recoil morally at.
Yeah.
And he said it's a dialogue between what is innate and the social contract or the social structure, which I think is actually really where it's at. It's right in between those two. Anybody?
Yeah, and that's actually how we learn everything, right? There's a combination of empirical investigation we do through interacting with the universe or the environment, which can include other people, but we also have these seeds of knowledge in us that are that the Stoics called them preconceptions, right? The reason why we can learn math, for example, is we have the seeds of that knowledge inside of us, and the same for language, the same for morality, the same for being able to dance or to throw things or to hunt, and all these very human activities is because it's a combination of the seed which is within our consciousness and the environment that cultivates its development.
Right. And and it's the same idea with morality. A legal code is based on the idea that there is some sort of objective moral standard, or a legal code would be nonsensical. And all societies to one degree or another have negotiated out some sort of relationship to the idea of objective morality. And we can actually even decide those societies are more immoral or more righteous. You know, it's fairly obvious. John, did you want to say something?
Yeah. What I found most interesting about Jonathan Haidt's work is Andrew left, I guess.
Andrew
But
left.
yeah, it looks like it. But I sent
Was
a
it
link
something I
out
said? Did he got offended by what I said? God, he's touchy with that stuff.
Yeah. Adam was wanting to get out on the call, so I sent him a link, so he might be showing up fairly soon.
Oh, cool. Okay, good. Awesome.
Yeah. But what I wanted to say about Jonathan Haidt is I think his work kind of maps fairly well onto the older Christian idea of natural law, that there is kind of these built-in objective morality into like just within our own intuitions on like what's right and what's wrong. And that's how like you can look at all these various different societies in history and in different cultures and how they have similar, I guess, kind of foundations. But I think it's different from, there are certain conceptions of natural law as like, I guess, rule-based systems where like you have kind of a Kantian universal, what is it? The categorical imperative that like these like specific rules like built into it that could be like articulated as like objective statements about morality. But it seems more to be these senses of values that we have, and depending upon our abilities and our the requirements for specific values, like they'll kind of raise or lower. But it seems to be more infinite rather than like, it's not like, okay, it's kind of like the introduction of Christianity into Judaism, where Judaism has its system of laws and moral obligations that you're to keep yourself to. And you can live your entire life under the law and live objectively a moral life. But with Jesus, there's a further moral imperative built within us of living your life most worthwhile, like doing what is most important and what is most necessary for the life that you've been given, that is outside of and even further than just living your life according to a system of rules or laws, things like that.
Stephanie, is she here?
No, I am here. No, I think I agree with that. I'm looking at another study.
Well, I figured you'd have something to say on that because that's like right in your wheelhouse.
Well, I was just looking at the study that speaking of, he's talking about Judaism and Christianity, but actually the thing about universal moral values, there's a study by a person called Kinnear and a couple of other authors.
Wait, hold on one sec. Welcome. Is that Adam?
Mm-hmm. Hey,
what's up, man? How are you?
I'm trying to.
What?
Sorry, I had the thing running in the background. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Hey, what's up?
Welcome.
Have you
heard any of the?
Yeah,
have you heard the conversation this one?
Yeah, definitely.
Cool, man. Weigh in. Steph's already cut you off.
I thought I was cutting her off because there's a bit of a delay when I came in. I was actually listening to her point.
Yeah, go ahead. Finish your point first, Stephanie.
I just wanted to say there's this really cool study, and it basically says that they looked at all different religions, the really big ones. So they looked at Hinduism, Buddhism, Taoism, Confucianism. They looked at atheism even. They looked at humanism in this particular study, and then Christianity and Judaism. And they found that all of them have these four commonalities. They all, people all universally have a commitment to something greater than oneself, self-respect, but with humility, self-discipline, and acceptance of personal responsibility, respect and caring for others, and caring for other living things in the environment. So universally, we all know that we ought to do that. We all know that those are our duties. And so I think that's pretty neat that this study actually looked at people across all groups.
Actually, before I let Adam talk, that makes a lot of sense to me because that resonates with stuff I've been talking about in my videos, that universal moral intuitions are somewhat like when a lot of atheists other than Adam say, like, you know, they can't all be right, but they can all be wrong. They kind of ignore the fact that a lot of religions, there's a lot of commonality in religions. There's a lot of things that they talk about that are, you know, for example, humility is preached in Buddhism as well as Christianity. It's not like they're all on all these wildly different planets, you know. But Adam, go ahead. You can introduce yourself if you want, or you can just start riffing. It's up to you.
Well, I mean, on topic of what you guys are talking about, I was just watching the Brett Weinstein, Richard Dawkins debate that dropped today. And man,
oh, cool.
Brett Weinstein just makes such a forceful argument that religion is an adaptation. And I think that a lot of the atheists have just bought into this argument that Richard Dawkins put forward that really, I mean, it really is just a hypothesis. It's not even really a theory because no one's really done any research into it. So I think the times are really changing on seeing religion as this negative thing by atheists. Yeah, and like everything that you're talking about makes perfect sense in the context of
one of the things.
Go ahead.
One of the things that I've said, I think I've put this out there. I've said it in things I was going to post. I don't know if I posted it yet. But you're kind of ahead of the curve. And I've said like a year or two from now, most of the sane, reasonable atheists are going to be on the same page as you. Because they're going to recognize, you know, most of your conclusions about the social utility of religion are data-driven analysis. I mean, it's a conclusion based on the science. And Jordan Peterson is a scientist. He's not, you know, he's not Ken Ham. You know what I'm saying? So
the cultural lag is really interesting because I have been here since 2012. Like I read Jonathan Haidt's book in 2012 when it first came out, and I was just hooked. I read everything I could on cultural evolution, and I actually I saw your debate with Richard Carrier.
Stephanie.
Oh my.
Yeah. I kept thinking the whole time. It was so frustrating. I actually did a video on it. I'm not sure if you saw it, but
no, I know I can't keep up with all these video responses to my stuff. It's crazy.
But yeah, I think the good point that you brought up is like Richard Carrier tries to make the point that altruism and compassion, it fits within hedonic, like personal self-interest. Like it makes me feel good to be nice to other people.
Oh, yeah. You remember the video better than me.
Yeah, like it's really, it's very easy to be a good person when it actually like makes you feel good. It's
right, when it feels good to be a good person.
Yeah, it's those instances where you have to sacrifice something and actually reap consequences upon yourself where being a good person is actually quite difficult.
Yeah, painful even.
Right. I mean, that's one of the key things of where the SJWs have gotten to nowadays is like the moral vanity. You know, I know a lot of people like this who their whole agenda for like their compassion has nothing to do with actually being compassionate. It has to do with how they frame themselves to themselves. I'm such a feeling, warm, loving person. That's why, you know, my heart aches for the immigrants and whatever. And it has nothing to do with the actual situations or compassion for the human beings involved. It more has to do with their moral vanity and their self-regard. But anybody.
Well, he kept hitting you with these questions, Stephanie, that I kept thinking that there were scientific evolution-based answers to those questions that he would have had a tough time dealing with. But you kept articulating those answers, but you were very much articulating them in an intuitive fashion, which, I mean, you guys were talking about height, so I don't know how much your thinking is along the lines of height, Stephanie, but like height's premise is basically that our intuitions about moral reasoning usually come first, and then we post hoc rationalize those intuitions. But those intuitions are calibrated for the good of our community, which is, I mean, that's what religion was designed by evolution to do it. I mean, it perfectly fits with a lot of the things that Jordan Peterson is talking about too. But the atheist community is just slow for the uptake, just because I think a lot of atheists are just atheists because they hate religion. They just hate
Yeah,
religion.
well, there's a knee-jerk anti-theism that's more based on this boogeyman of what religion actually is than the reality of what people actually what people's faith actually constitutes and how it plays out in the real world. They'll take, isolated incidents of things that don't necessarily have anything to do with religion per se, and go, see, religion's so evil and awful, and not recognize
a lot of it is the anti-gay stuff, which I don't know how you get around that. A lot of the social justice warriors are against religion because it's anti-gay, which it is anti-gay to a certain extent. So I mean, I don't know. I mean, I myself am not anti-gay. Like, I'm for gay marriage and all that stuff. So
Anna, are you an atheist or are you a Christian?
Yeah, I'm an atheist.
That's what I was thinking, you were an atheist. I think you've been on Craig's show before, right?
Yeah, I've talked to Craig.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. I think I've seen you before. So that's interesting that you have an interesting viewpoint. I have to investigate more.
His viewpoint is where I bet almost all the cool atheists that I know are going to be on his page in 2 years.
Well, I've been waiting for this for 6 years, Craig. It's been painful as hell. Are you kidding?
Yeah, but now you have me in the fight. Now you have an ally. Before you were just like, was you against, I don't know, who God was creating or someone? I'm not sure.
I want to go back to his point though on gay people. I do want to go back to that because I get asked that a lot. There's a lot of people on Twitter who basically are always tagging me, and even that guy that you talked to, Dan Objectively, he was tagging me yesterday asking me my views on gay people and that kind of thing. And just like you, and I know Craig's like this too, is I'm fine with gay marriage if the government wants to sanction gay marriage to allow them to have equal rights. I think that's good. It's a good thing. I think that, but as far as the way that I think what you're saying is sometimes people might feel like they're left out. And so I think there might be let me tell you this here. I'll go back to what I'm trying to get to. I have a coworker at my school who's actually written a book. He's an atheist, and he travels around to conferences, and he and I are now going to get together, which is kind of funny. I've never met him in real life. I've only met him on Twitter. We're both following each other, but we decided we're going to get together next month. So, or not next month, but the month after. But as soon as we do get together, I'll have finished reading his book. I started reading it, and he actually has a book on strategies that atheists can use to remove religion. And especially his focus is on fundamentalist Christianity. And one of the strategies he says in his book, which I've read part of it so far, is that they should target people who are gay, for example, and go after people like that because they think that that's a way to develop followers for atheism.
So they basically want to milk that.
Yeah, totally. He's right in terms of a strategy for.
Yeah, he says too many atheists are, well, the commonality for many atheists is their age is generally younger. So most atheists are a younger age. Most atheists are white males and they're straight. And so in his book, he points that out, and he says, and he's a sociologist, and he says that they need to go after people who are in less, in minorities in some way. So that's one of his things. So he's focusing on different minority groups.
What is his ultimate goal? I mean, my
to
goal
destroy
is
Christianity.
Yeah, but
my goal.
Well, I don't understand that. It seems it doesn't.
Well,
it makes no sense to me.
Well, okay, let me say something. He's at my school, and he and I are both on this committee. And so he's been doing what he can do to try to get the Christian groups kicked off of our campus. And I've been doing what I can do to make sure that doesn't happen.
So it really is just an all-out hatred of religious people. I mean, it's bigotry. I don't know what else to call it.
Oh, totally. Dude, when I first got on Twitter, I was shocked. People would come up to me and ascribe to me all manner of finally I got some of them to leave me alone by saying, look, you're no different than a KKK guy. And I'm just, exactly. I'm just the object of your hatred. What's the difference? You don't know anything about me, and you've just decided that I'm like irrational, anti-scientist, I hate gays,
Yeah, they have this argument that if you are just agnostic about religion, like you just don't care, that you're somehow anti-gay, that that translates into you condoning gay bashing or something. Like I'm
Well,
like,
what's happened? There's two things that, like in my town, where I grew up, I've said this a couple of times. It was really, really like not cool to be Christian. It was like if people found out, a lot of people don't know I'm Christian, they would freak out.
really?
Everything else was kosher. Like I had a friend who became a Jehovah's Witness, and everyone's like, "Oh yeah, it's cool. He's into Jehovah now." It's helped him with with his addictions. But part of that is the anti-gay thing. Part of that is the guy that Stephanie's talking about is actually, if your goal is to drive a wedge between normal people and Christianity and to dismantle it further and knock it down, that's a good strategy, just in terms of strategic thinking, right, Stephanie? That's what you meant.
Yeah,
right?
so I can't wait to finish reading his book, and then I'm going to go chat with him. And
What is
that'll be interesting. He's a
though?
former Muslim. I'm sorry, I don't mean Muslim.
Oh,
I mean
okay.
Mormon. He's a former Mormon.
Oh, a Mormon. So does he feel like he was tricked by religion? Because I see a lot of people that grew up religion, they feel like they were swindled.
That's what I
a
want
big
to find
one.
out. I want to get his story. I really don't know what his background is, but he's been very busy writing books, and he's been even people like Seth Andrews have recognized him. So he's getting a name for himself.
Interesting. Yeah.
I don't want to name him here since I've been talking about him. But
How are we supposed to read it? How are we supposed to read his book then?
Oh well, no, that's true. I guess I could name him. His name's Ryan Cragun, Cragun.
Okay.
So it's an unusual name, and you can find him, and he's so he's somebody.
But yeah,
work with.
the anti-theism is intense.
I think he's getting into the game though much too late though, because I don't think they have the science on their side any longer.
No, they definitely do not. They definitely do not. Jordan Peterson won those Sam Harris debates, and he won them without really working too much very hard. The main counter arguments of Sam Harris were, all this is true except religion sucks. All this is true. I agree with you completely, except you're forgetting that religion sucks. In Islam, they make women wear bags over their heads. So
That's what he does. Actually, Sam Harris is overly focused on Muslims, and he likes to generalize something that occurs within Muslim religion onto other religions, and I don't think that's very fair.
Yeah, he likes to think all Christians are the Westboro Baptist Church too. He's constantly like milking the gay thing as well.
Totally. I've had people argue with me that those people are more real Christians. And eventually I just got sick of even arguing the point, But John's still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. I wanted to ask Adam a question, because I follow a lot of Haidt's work as well, and I'm curious as to how you kind of like square away the conundrum that you're in, being an atheist, but realizing the at least practical utility and potentially the necessity for religious practice and religion in general for human social cohesion and group cooperation. Like I know there's that experiment that Haidt brings up about how they tested secular communes versus religious communes, and 10-1, the religious communes actually survived for a much longer period of time than secular communes, which didn't have the sacrifices and the rituals that were necessary within a religious commune. And as well, I know you watched the debate between Inspiring Philosophy and Matt Dillahunty, and how Inspiring Philosophy brings up the difference between intrinsic religiosity and just extrinsic religiosity, where you're just doing it because everyone else around you also does it, and how so there's definitely I don't know, I just wanted to get your
take on it.
Yeah, get your take, because I know you're kind of in a pickle there between getting all these facts but still not having the capacity to believe.
He's not actually in a pickle
Yeah, I'm not
because
really.
he doesn't. He's just, as far as he's concerned, he's just being intellectually honest on both fronts, right? I mean,
Yeah,
if
exactly.
he believed in God, he'd believe in God, and then he's studying the science, and he's a couple of years ahead of the curve, from what I gather, with the actual science. You know, he's where.
I mean, I really believe that their society functions in teams of individuals. So I do think the atheist community serves a purpose. The different communities, follow different implicit biases, different group motivated biases, but they still dig up research and whatnot. It's the people that are not embedded in those teams, though, that can tend to be the unbiased look at that evidence. So I mean, just by not being on a team, I feel like I'm less biased.
Right.
But I guess my question is kind of like what you see for the future of humanity. Like, I don't know if you share the opinion that like the future is to be inherited by the religious just because they procreate much more than atheists do, and actually are able to interact with other people because there's that shared common shared values held by them.
I think the atheists are delusional that they think that they are ever going to get their numbers above like 15% of the population.
Oh wow! I was going to go do a whole. Remember, John, I was talking to you about this. The atheists don't understand like what real sociological muscle is.
Yeah.
You know, imagine if freaking like Seth Andrews. There's like a not very famous preacher like Benny Hinn goes to a town in Cincinnati and he'll sell out a stadium, you know, easily without it even ever being commented on. Imagine if that happened with like Seth Andrews. Forget it. You never, like, atheists would never stop telling me that. I'd get like, you know, everyone on my comments was like, atheism taking over, atheism, you know, and imagine if like when the Pope visits like South American country, the whole place shuts down.
Totally.
For like 10 days.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah, they have no concept. Like they can't even get a annual conference to go longer than 3 years.
A lot of times their conferences get canceled. They had one in Australia recently that was canceled.
Yeah, they don't.
But I want to piggyback on Craig's Benny Hinn real quick. Benny Hinn's unverified account is following me on Twitter.
Uh-oh. Don't give him any money.
Not only is his unverified account, I'm being followed by the unverified accounts of Leonardo DiCaprio. I mean, I could name a whole bunch of country singers. You guys get all those fake kind of people following you?
I don't think I do.
No, we're not that
famous. Don't know. I don't.
I have a whole bunch of Prince Hamdad accounts. I have a whole bunch of Prince Harry. I have a whole bunch of Prince Harrys following me. So yeah, it's great.
I think
good.
atheists serve a vital purpose in the community, but the people that tend to turn atheism into just another religion and go on this, proselytizing rampage and think that atheism is going to take over Christianity. I think they're looking for something, but I don't think atheism is it.
Mm-hmm. Well,
there's a lot. I think they actually bring us closer to Christianity. I wouldn't be a strong believer if it weren't for them.
They definitely do.
I mean, I started writing blogs purely because I was responding to this particular atheist. I started writing, and I've written about 100 blogs, including about at least 20 rebuttals to atheists, and it's thanks to them. They spurred it on. I wouldn't have done it without them, so I have to say thank you.
Wow, now you're smoking out Richard Carrier in debates.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I need to practice my debating skills before I go back on.
No, you have great debating skills. You are going to do a whole thing on how you're going to be the greatest apologist of all time. You have great debating skills. You just need the right talking points. Then you'll kick everyone. You'll kill everybody.
Yeah, I need some good talking points. I got mad last time with Shannon and Paula Gia last weekend because I didn't have my talking points articulated as well as I wanted, so I was upset.
Right, and I was supposed to be on that show. I was supposed to be there.
I know you were supposed to be there,
I don't
and
know
I
what
blew
happened.
it. I totally blew it. So I am so sorry again. I can't believe I felt so bad right after I got off and I saw your tweet. I thought, oh, what's wrong with me?
The thing that Inspiring Philosophy did that was kind of brilliant, though, was that he debated the secular utility of religion, because all the atheists are capable of debating is the existence of God. So, but as soon as
Right.
you take them out of their sandbox and debate them on something that the evidence is really against them, they
Right.
show themselves to be completely unaware of the actual science, and they're on a losing field.
Right. That's exactly how Stephanie's going to become the greatest debater of all time. Because we're
I've
gonna
written a paper on
instead
that.
of
Actually,
debating like the miracle existent, Jesus rising from the dead, which you can't really debate. You're gonna give you debating what Inspiring Philosophy debated, because you can't lose.
I can't lose
All
with that.
the
I
evidence-
wouldn't. Craig, I've got an article I'm right in front of me right now called "Health Correlates of Religiosity and Atheism." And I have a ton of reasons, health reasons for being a religion. Following
Yeah,
religion.
just don't
So-
get controversial. Don't say anything negative about atheists.
Oh yeah, no,
You can't lose.
point out the positive side on the counter side of the health and
Right.
behavioral issues that can come out of religion. They're beneficial.
No, that's one of the things I've been talking about in my videos, is that if Christians would focus on that, on Inspiring Philosophy beat him in that debate as far as I was concerned, by a lot.
Inspiring
I've never
Philosophy does a phenomenal job, and you know who else does is Mike Winger. So
Well, I've never
Those
seen
two.
Matt Dillahunty get bested in a debate other than that time. That's the only time where I was like, wow, Matt Dillahunty really didn't do very well. I don't know.
did you
Adam
see Matt
disagrees a
Dillahunty's
little.
thing today?
No, I did not.
I am
What happened?
somehow what happened. You know Kyle over at Non Sequitur.
I do.
So Kyle sent this tweet out to thank everybody for everything that Non Sequitur has done over the past year as far as growing and that kind of thing. And somehow I'm the lone Christian in this entire group of people that include Matt Dillahunty and Seth. So then Steve McRae is in that group. So Steve started going back and forth with somebody about the definitions of agnosticism and atheism, what he tends to like to do. And Dillahunty just wouldn't have it anymore. So Dillahunty wrote him some tweets saying he was egotistical or something like that. And so
were Stephen and
little fight.
Dillahunty got into that fight? Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, well, it
The
just
tweet
happened again today. Did you see that
Oh, it
today?
did.
Stephen
No, I didn't see
McRae
it.
fought with Dillahunty. I'm blocked from Dillahunty, so I miss all the good drama.
You're blocked from. I used to be blocked from him, and then he unblocked me.
I offered to fly out to Austin and debate him, and he blocked me.
Are you serious? Why
Yeah,
would he
no,
block you?
none of these people will debate me. They tell themselves that I'm a troll and that I'm not sincere. Like,
Here's what
pretty
it
hilarious.
says. Here's what I have Matt Dillahunty's tweet right in front of me. Tired of the constant stream of pointless prescriptivist assertions Steve uses. Smug, superior, agnostic. Adios. It's just
Wow.
not nice.
Did
It's totally not nice.
he block Steve? That's cold, bro.
It is cold because he's been on Steve's show.
Well, but Steve actually was right in the thing that they were debating about the original thing,
They don't like when you use the term agnostic because they feel, I mean, their ultimate goal is they really envision a world where 80% of people are atheists. They somehow think that that's going to be a better world.
Yeah. Instead of scary.
No, I don't
Right.
understand. Like, how do you, they have this idea that people are just naturally ethical. And I like, have you spent any time with kids? They're monsters.
Yeah, ethics at the very least, the Christian philosophy is correct in that ethics need to be somewhat imposed from the outside. It's not the natural tendency of a person to be good and do the right thing. It's the natural tendency to be really selfish and just take and do drugs, drink, whatever.
Watch Lord of the Flies.
Yeah, totally. That's a Christian book too. Actually, that's a Christian parable. That guy meant that as a Christian story.
That's funny.
It's a great book.
Hey,
Stephanie,
do you
that,
guys
right?
mind if I invite Noden Network to join? He's a huge follower of Peterson. He's has like several different series going on.
No, go for it. Right now?
Yeah, I just sent him a link.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, cool.
Stephanie, you read
that.
Lord of the Flies, right? That's right.
No, I haven't. I actually watched part of that movie and I found it so disturbing. I didn't want to.
Oh yeah.
Well,
Yeah, there you go. That's
the book will
human
freak
nature
you
right
out.
there.
The book will destroy you if you found the movie disturbing. Forget it. The
Oh, I
book
found the
is
movie very
actually.
Yeah, I didn't like it.
That's where Dillahunty really fell down in the debate with Peterson. Is that, I mean, you could see it. He said, even says in the debate something to the effect of, he was like, if you realized there was no God tomorrow, would you start murdering and raping people? And then he's like, and some people tell me they would. And I'm like, he realized as he was saying it, like, it just, the level of understanding of human nature, I think, is so diluted in most people that are just on the left and atheists by
Well, it kind of starts with the Rousseau idea that, society is the reason people are naturally good, and society is what keeps us in chains, and that's total distortion of reality.
Yeah, exactly.
Society sometimes society is corrupt, but that's human nature writ large. Society imposes on us rules, regulations, ethics, codes of conduct that we wouldn't naturally do. They've also never had a wild past where they saw what they were like when they were out drinking till 4 or 5 in the morning. So they think that people, they don't recognize. So they've seen all their friends turn into like complete psychopaths at 3:30 in the morning. So
do you think they're
that's
pitching that? Do you think they're pitching that argument just because they want to say that, just because we don't believe in God doesn't mean we're bad people?
I think there's some of that. There's some knee-jerk, like, we're just as good as the Christians. That's why they always bring up, like, atheists. There are secular charities and organizations, and I'm like, yeah, but it's not embedded into secularism. There's no like code of conduct where it's really impressed upon you that you're supposed to, do good for the poor, do good for that. That's really where it comes from. It's not like it's natural to people, to want to do that. It's got to be imposed and reasserted and then reimposed. So yes, I think there's, to answer it briefly, yes, I think there's some knee-jerk, like, we're just as good as you. We can be good without religion, or we can be good without God. And it's sort of true, but we as a collective, it's not necessarily true. You know what I'm saying?
You guys, I'm going to have to run because I've got to go get some dinner going here. So.
All right, go for it.
But I agree with you guys. And I think it's nice that I got to meet John and Adam.
Yeah,
Want to sign off?
Stephanie.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, this is the first time you met
great.
Stephanie?
Yeah.
Stephanie, you want to sign off? Say goodbye to.
But I just wanted to say thanks for having me on. So.
Yeah. Thanks for
You are
participating,
welcome.
Stephanie.
Okay, I'll chat with you guys later.
Okay. Bye, Steph. So go ahead. Did I answer the question?
Oh man, I forgot what the question was now.
Adam, is he still there?
I'm here. Yeah, what's up?
What did I answer? You said, do you think that's? I forget what the question was.
They're
being defensive.
The argument, though, I mean, they're really. I don't understand. It seems so obvious to me. Well, they're making an ethical argument that they're saying that if you can be good without the threat of force, that you're a better person. And I don't necessarily disagree with that argument.
Mm-hmm.
I just think there are, like, humanity lies on a spectrum, and there are people that need that threat of force. I mean, this is why we have police forces.
Right.
Like it seems to me that when you're making an argument that nobody needs that threat of force, then I mean you're making an argument that just flies in the face of what human nature is.
Right.
Mhm.
Well, that's the thing. They're trying to in order to make the argument successfully with complete integrity, you kind of have to rewrite human nature.
Yes.
And then you can go, yeah, fine, religion isn't necessary because people will be automatically good. That's the underlying premise. They won't be, though. That's pretty obvious, or at least as far as I'm concerned. John, you want to say?
Yeah, I think that argument from the atheists, I'll try and re-articulate it, that those people that are being good, even though being good is kind of arbitrary according to the universe, like there's no heaven or hell to be punished with, but they're
Right.
being good out of their own altruistic, noble
Right.
spirit.
Because they're
That
empathy.
is,
Because of empathy.
yeah. Well, it's not. Yeah, I guess. I mean, like if you wanted to think about it logistically, it is based out of empathy, but that is an interesting case made by the atheists. I think, like, I haven't read the book, but I think the brothers Karamazov kind of portrays its atheist as in that kind of light where he's still kind of a hero because he has a certain level of morality that is even deeper than the Christian who has like justifications for why he's doing the things that he's doing, the post hoc rationalizations for morality that he has, and
Right.
mhm. I don't know. Maybe this is a bit of a quip, but I got a conversation with somebody on Twitter, and they like were making that case that like just because morality is subjective doesn't mean that I'm how is it they put it? Even if morality is like has no moral reasons behind it, that doesn't make a difference for why I shouldn't act that way. And I don't know. My response was something to do with to act without reasons is to act irrationally, and so just because I know irrationalism is a buzzword against the atheists, like just throwing that back at them.
That's a good argument. That's a good.
I like to play around with that type of thing.
Yeah.
I mean,
why would you? Yeah. Why would you be good if you don't have to be good? That's totally irrational.
Uh-huh.
right. And that could be like it is irrational. It's like, exactly.
So
if you could get away with it, you wouldn't be.
So if an atheist is really trying to be as rational and logical as possible, then they should accept objective morality. But I don't know.
Or just accept, like Adam does, that there's utility to religion. I mean, if you I think Adam even had a video on the invisible cop on the beat. I'm not sure if I'm thinking of you or maybe somebody else, but the invisible cop on the beat is a really good motivating force to not do wrong. You know, and if people actually believe that they're going to answer for what they do wrong, whether it's true or not, that's a really useful motivation for people not doing, terrible things. It's a really good motivation.
Yeah, I think like
it's useful.
The secular like replacement for that without having some sort of cultural religious binding is something like China with the deep state like watching everything that people are doing and like holding them socially accountable, like using technology. Something like that would be the replacement to a like metaphysical, socially bound, psychological religion held between a people. Like that I see as
right. But there's no real good answer, as far as I can tell. There's no answer. Maybe we'll do another show where we talk about this in general, but there's nothing. If you take away the invisible cop on the beat, the anti-theist then has to say, this is why people are going to be good in a world without religion. This is why they will be good. And you can't really think of a good reason to give them motivation to do the right thing, to not harm other people or not take or not steal. I don't know. Does that make sense, Adam?
John makes a pretty brilliant point, though. I mean, bringing up the whole idea of the secular version of the mechanism is, I think, important because, I mean, I bring this up with atheists and atheist debates, and they often deny that there's any mechanism there at all, which I find pretty disingenuous.
Yeah,
I mean,
even before China, there was this like concept by some I don't know, some postmodern philosopher called the panopticon, which is like a prison cell where there's a peephole within every single or it's a prison system where there's a peephole in every single cell, and only like one guard somewhere like hiding in the walls looking through a peephole whenever they want. And you don't even have to have a guard looking through the peephole, but just having that reminder of there being an eye that could be a guard hiding behind there that's watching you that could punish you for some reason, it is enough to keep people in control. Or at least that's just a theory. I don't know how effective it would be if bad behavior isn't actually reinforced. It might be people just like, okay, there's a 90% chance that I can get away with this. I'm going to go ahead and get away with this.
Yeah, they've done studies, and I think the amount of the whether or not you're going to get caught, the likelihood of you getting caught is way more effective in motivating behavior than the actual degree of the punishment, or the severity of the punishment.
Mm-hmm.
So
if you're in a low cop neighborhood, then
yeah,
gotcha.
This is the problem in poorer communities where the policing is inadequate, because so many people don't think that they'll get caught, so they
because they won't.
They
won't, because they're paying attention. Yeah. They won't get caught.
It's
my
awful.
friend got a car stolen.
It's awful.
And we went to go see a movie. We went to see a Woody Allen movie. This is in the 80s. Okay. It's a little better now, but we drove into New York, parked. We went and waited in line. The movie was sold out. We went back to the car, could see the tire tracks on the water. The car disappeared. We called the cops. They didn't come. We said our car just got stolen. They did not come. We had to take a train home. That was at 7:00 at night. They kept saying, "Oh yeah, we'll send a car. We'll send somebody out there." They didn't care. It's New York City. A stolen car. They're like, yeah, okay, you and 600 other people. They didn't say, look, we really don't care, but they pretty much told us, that by their actions, we don't care. Stolen car. We got more important things to worry about. So they didn't even show up.
Wow. You got insurance, don't you?
Yeah, he actually got it back. It was found like a month later because there was a lock on the gas cap tank or something like that, so you can't refill it. So it was just abandoned in some. So it just ran out of gas on some city street.
Hilarious.
Yeah,
but you're not going to get caught. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, there's a way that you can, like, I think what Brett Weinstein kind of was playing at in his conversation with Richard Dawkins, how you can consider religion as a method of not wasting potential energy. Like if you have a large amount of police that have to be in an area just in order to keep social cohesion and people are actually behaving in it when they're interacting with each other. There's not anybody trying to kill each other. That's a lot of money that you're spending just to allow that freedom for people to interact. And if there's a system that is not wasting that energy and is able to survive without it, then automatically I'd assume it would be able to survive longer, respective of course of other external influences that are at play.
Yeah. So you watched the Dawkins?
I was just going to ask that. Was that on? That's the one he was just talking about? You saw that already, John?
Yeah. I listened to it on my drive home from work at like 2x speed. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I wish it went a lot longer. Like I was surprised by the time that I was like, okay, well, it's time for questions now. And it's like, what? It's only been like...
I know, that was horrible. But the ending with when the beavers was just, I mean, I felt like, how can Dawkins be saying this? Like the argument is so, and it's his own argument.
Yeah, that's
the
what I think is most interesting from Richard Dawkins is his work on the extended phenotype. That is the most fascinating because it fits quite well into Brett Weinstein's conception of metaphorical truth, where the
yes,
actions that a being uses is what gets selected for, and so it's actually an extended phenotype of the genes that are actually existing.
yes,
And so, like the top layer of like rational thinking that are above like what's going on. Like we're acting in ways that we don't understand, and then we create post hoc rationalizations for why it is that we're doing the things that we are. Uh, that's almost like emergent properties that aren't. Whereas through Brett Weinstein's conception, those are kind of separate things that are also replicating themselves. Which I don't know. It seems too like metaphysical in a weird kind of way.
I don't see how Dawkins can decouple the culture not serving or working against the genes, because it just if they work against the genes die.
Yeah, I think Brett's point with language at the very end like made so much sense because like if you have a parent that it speaks a certain language and then they have a child that will need to quickly learn the new language for whatever like country that they're in, the old language isn't fighting to survive with it from the old parent to the new parent because it's just so much simpler and easier for the kid to adopt the new language of whatever country he's in. And it's like
exactly
the same way for like rituals or just interactions with people. Like shaking your hand is a ritual to people that is it's not like driven from any specific like rational reasoning behind it. It's a show of affection and trust within people, and it's like if you disregard all rituals, then you're kind of left with a lot. You're losing a lot of like social signaling of like trust between people, and I think I don't know, maybe part of that is why there's a certain amount of distrust from the common public towards like vocal atheists and things like that. Like why they wouldn't want an atheist running office because I don't know it's like a social signal from the atheists that they don't adhere to the same certain values as you yourself do.
Well, and they don't have any threat of force. I mean,
what do you mean by that?
They're basically saying, I don't believe police exist.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They're saying, I don't believe I'll ever get caught. Like, why do you want to hang out with that guy? Like, do you want to go to the bar with the guy who's like, I won't get caught for anything?
I can do anything. I can do anything tonight. There's no way anybody's going to ever find out. 4 in the morning, I'll kill you.
Joseph Henrich talks about adopting culture, and he even goes into different tribes that have dropped their culture and adopted the culture of the tribe next door because the tribe next door was so successful, and obviously they're doing something right, but they don't necessarily know what they're doing right, so they just have to adopt everything that they're doing.
So they just do whatever they do.
But
that's pretty funny.
But Dawkins is making this point that religion, the culture that has been around for 2,000 and counting years, is the unsuccessful culture, and I don't understand. He's like, we're gonna make.
Is that really what? Is that's what he was arguing? That for real?
No, not in the debate, but I mean that is the argument atheists are making. Atheists are making the argument that the tried and true culture that's been like I agree that theoretically a group of individuals could adopt any culture they want, and that culture would be tested in the Darwinian framework the same way that Jordan Peterson talks about it, and it would be tested on the survival of the group, right? The group either survives based on their culture or not. So I don't understand. Dawkins is making this case that the culture itself is a virus and the culture itself wants to survive. No. The culture is the as Brett explained it, the extended phenotype of the biological individuals. But Henrich makes the point that human beings are capable of adopting just about any culture they see fit, and that's the beautiful thing about cultures, because if you use like the beaver dam example that Brett Weinstein took the example of beavers build dams, and that dam is a kind of a metaphor for the culture. Beavers can build better or worse dams. I mean, in human beings, we can build better or worse cultures. So theoretically,
Right,
that's
exactly.
why that's one of the reasons why humans are constantly wanting to change culture, is because they think, oh, there might be a better way to do this. We could have more
Right, but
survival, more
also
reproduction.
in the when you're talking about the religious idea, I mean, what the anti-theists point out as the problems with religion, they're not wrong. They're just not necessarily intrinsic to religion in general. Religion can also be modified and improved upon. It's not like Christianity has these things that we think are wrong with it, therefore Christianity is evil and sucks. You know, we can have Christians like John and myself who practice a type of Christianity that is improved upon some of the things that they object to.
They
Right?
don't buy into that, though, because one of their arguments against religion is that it's unchangeable. No one can ever change it. so
okay. Go ahead.
They're saying we have to get rid of religion because science is changeable. And we need our culture to be changeable. Otherwise,
that's actually
because as soon as I'm in power, then everybody will do whatever it is that is currently thought to be the best way to live their life.
Exactly.
But that's the thing. It having a highly adaptive like culture that's just changing upon like whoever's new in charge, they create the whole new process of change. It's very risky.
It is.
Having certain like I don't know, like one thing that is I don't know an existential risk is AI. Like that is an aspect of modern technology that if goes unchecked could become I don't know. It depending on how much we fuck up, it could be enough to extinguish the human race as we understand it currently. But so this is something, and like with nuclear energy and things like that, these are things in which having a quickly changeable culture where these new technologies can be practiced and widespread instantaneously is very dangerous. I don't know if it's like I don't know if like the high rate of spread for ideas within like YouTube and online how quickly I don't know if that's necessarily dangerous yet. Like that's an aspect of high change in culture that could be practical, but I think because it remains up there within the idea space instead of the physical space. But
I'm not sure. Henrik made a point I was watching one of his lectures, and he was talking about how the reason why people don't respect their elders anymore is because society is changing so fast that people don't respect their elders because they're elders. People respect their elders because they feel like they've lived this long, that they must have useful know-how that they can capitalize themselves to become successful. But in an environment that's changing so fast, they don't have useful information because
that idea has been obsolete for a decade.
Exactly.
Your grandparents can't even work email. They're so dumb.
Exactly.
Grandmama can't even like send a fax. But that's obsolete.
But if you think about it, that is a meme that's been encoded into religion to respect your elders. That's not that was coded there when society was moving at a pace that it was actually a useful meme.
Right.
But now it's not as
well.
useful.
It's a useful meme for the elders, regardless. Period. It's a really good meme for the elders.
The Indians had a different meme. They were like, "Wake up early before Grandpa gets up. We're moving the tribe."
Yeah. Okay, so it's on Matt Dillahunty's thing he had a lecture on secular morality, and one of the things that he said that Yes, he has 2 that I've seen online.
When did this come out? Or is this old?
It's been around. It's on his. I think I just wrote it into YouTube. Matt Dillahunty's Secular Morality, or YouTube suggested it to me because of the stuff I watch. So that's probably how I found it.
Mm-hmm. But
they give me good suggestions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it seems like his case is similar to what he made in his case with Jordan Peterson. That like well-being is kind of this suitcase term where you can throw in any like specific 3 values or something like that. You can test those values according to how effective they are at running a society, and then if we like the results, we'll keep it and maybe add in something new later or not. And that's
who's we.
we the people.
I guess we as in everyone.
We is the guys with the guns who have all the women, right?
Right.
We totally. As all of the rational, intellectual atheists that are running society. We're the ones that have the full understanding of truth, and so we know what's actually going on behind the scenes. We understand evolution and all that, so we'll be the ones that are making the morality for everyone. Like, you don't need to go to church and all these other things that we don't actually understand. We just know they're superstitious hooey. So
yeah, exactly.
Well, right, but also the other thing that he said is like, secular morality is vastly superior to religious morality. That's the underlying premise. That's even what he calls it. But then he never tells you what secular morality means other than well-being. And secular morality is so great because we can constantly improve, and we're not beholden to the past. That's what made me think when Adam said.
I told you.
We're not beholden to the past. We don't have to go with these, this ancient book that said, love your neighbor as yourself. We don't need that tired belief anymore. We're done with that.
We don't have to go with the stuff that worked.
Right, exactly. That's why I thought of it. That's exactly why I thought of it.
We can go with the stuff that has anywhere from a 0% to 100% chance of working.
Right. Yeah, we don't like the stuff where we have to make sacrifices, like waking up on Sunday or respecting elders or doing things that I don't get pleasure out of or well-being out of. So yeah, there's a lot to their propositions that don't exactly hold up to scientific scrutiny.
Yeah. Well, Matt can't even have uncomfortable conversations on the internet without blocking people. So,
Matt, how'd you get? What did you do that got you blocked? Was it you because you challenged him to a debate, or you sassed him?
I challenged his position. I wasn't super sassy. I think it might have. I think, in all honesty, I might have had it coming because I did make a video about hunting. And I used some, so he was, it made me so, it triggered me. I couldn't help it. He did. Go ahead. It's the lobster.
Is it the one? Yeah, that's my favorite video of yours. Matt Dillahunty is a bottom lobster.
Yeah, so he was on some stream talking smack about Jordan Peterson. And I just thought, oh, this is too good to pass up. So I did some clips and I made fun of him, and
that was before he debated him, right? This is an old video at this point.
No, it was after he debated him. So
it was after he debated him. Okay.
In Jordan Peterson's book, he makes a comment about how when the lobsters fight, the lobster that loses will talk incessantly or will gossip incessantly behind the winning lobster's back. So I clipped out him basically gossiping incessantly behind Peterson's back, and I clipped it up with the debate. Like, yeah, this is it. Like he predicted.
That's really funny.
But the best part of the video is the ending, because in the ending, I play the clip from the book where he talks about how the lobster's brain dissolves, and then he grows a new brain, more better for his now lowly status.
And as you're doing this, you're zoomed in on Matt Dillahunty's bald head.
Yeah, totally. And Matt's just talking, and you're like, it's just, it's so good. It's so good. But
is that still on your channel?
Yeah, it sounds like you got legitimately blocked, though. It sounds like you got blocked for a pretty good reason.
Okay, so yeah, so we're
video ridiculing him.
So we're in agreement that I actually.
How unfair of him to not want to deal with you after that. I can't imagine. I can't imagine why he wouldn't want to deal with you after that.
If he asked me, if all he would have to do is say, "Hey, will you delete the video?" and it's gone. Seriously, like
Oh no. Save
people,
it. Save it.
people
Send
have
it to
asked
me.
me. People have asked me to delete videos before, and it's not. Well, it's just it's
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's
if you mean it in fun. If someone had a real problem with it.
If
No,
someone
I
did a
get
video
that.
like that about me,
Most of your videos are playfully bashing people. I don't see any malice in any of them.
if
Because
someone did a video like that for me, I would
laugh.
I would love it.
Yeah, yeah.
People
I
have
would get
done
a kick out
videos
of that
like
too.
that.
A Godless Cranium's video of me, I was having fun with that. People thought that it was beefing. I didn't consider it a beef. I thought it was fun. I was psyched that he had a video. That was like, finally, someone gets a video, challenging one of my videos. But yeah, no, you mean it playfully when you bash people. I get that. A lot of people on the internet, it's malicious. Most of the people that I associate with, it's not malicious at all. Even the atheists too.
I do my best not to take it maliciously because I get a lot of hateful comments and stuff like that. But I put a lot of it down to just miscommunication.
Yeah, definitely. Or some guys are just dicks. It depends. It really depends. Well, it depends. But the people who are the dicks are dicks routinely. It's like, they'll say something really nasty in your comment section. A year and a half later, they won't even know that they were talking to you. And they'll say something again. You're like, oh my God, this guy. And then you go look at their Twitter feed, and sure enough, that's exactly what they're doing 85% of the day. Just bashing people.
Yeah, I have a high tolerance for that if they know stuff, like if they read height, like I'm gonna take the abuse. But if somebody doesn't know anything and they're just abusive, I let it go. It's like not worth it.
Yeah, I agree.
So.
John, you have yet to be abused. John.
I've hardly put myself out there. I actually got an invitation from Peter DeTucker to go on his show, and I'm like partially considering it just to see
do it. That'll be
yeah.
Well, but make sure Reed is with you because Reed at this point.
Oh, Robert Reed? Oh yeah, because I guess he's part of it too, isn't he?
Yeah, he's usually the guy who streams them. Do you watch his show at all, Adam? You probably don't watch his channel, do you?
Do
you even know who we're talking about?
No, but maybe I've seen something. Who is it?
He did a really hilarious debate with the Catholic YouTuber, the Distributist.
Okay.
And I don't know, one of the major points from the Distributist was pointing out how secular humanism was brought up, was actually originated within the French Revolution, while Peter DeTucker was kind of going off of the Matt Dillahunty point that secular humanism is a government that hasn't been tried yet.
Right, and it's the greatest thing ever, morally speaking.
Because Peter had no idea, secular humanism wasn't this new thing that hasn't actually been tried yet, when it has been tried and the results were horrendous.
I did see that. Yeah, I watch most of the Distributist stuff. So
weren't you on with Distributist?
Yeah, I did a talk with him that I thought was going to be a talk, and I didn't realize I was walking into a debate. And it was the first time I'd ever talked to him, and it was super uncomfortable. But it's a great.
Oh, really?
It's a great.
I only watched 20 minutes of it or something about objective morality. I think it was.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, maybe we'll get him on here.
Yeah.
Have him
something
smart like guy. This. Yeah, his channel's good. I've only just discovered it recently. Mm-hmm. But you should do it, John. But don't be sensitive.
Mm-hmm.
Peter could be a really good debater sometimes, in the sense of he's smart. He's smarter than you think, and he pulls stuff out of left field, and you're like, what on earth is this craziness? And it really throws you sometimes. But just don't be sensitive if you go on his channel.
I should probably duck out, guys. I got some stuff.
Yeah, I'm actually going to wrap it up. I'm going to close this out.
Awesome.
It was nice meeting you,
So-
John. I've seen you in my
Yeah,
comments.
nice meeting you
a bunch
too,
of times.
Adam. Yeah, I'm always like I'm a quad 9363 in your comments, and I'm like always
Oh, okay.
trying to boost your YouTube algorithms by like putting as many comments as I can. But yeah, I love your stuff. Watch pretty much all as much as I can of it.
Yeah, it sounds like
Yeah,
you and I have read a lot of the same stuff. So
Totally.
it's always cool
Totally.
hanging out with you too, Craig. So take care.
Yeah, man. Always. I'll whenever we'll have things like this, whenever a party like this, I'll shoot you a link. I'm glad you
Take
came
care.
by. Actually,
Yeah, thanks for
Okay,
showing
man.
up, Adam. This was awesome.
this is fun.
Mhm.
All right. So, shall we sign off, John?
Yes.
Did we have a success? What happened to Andrew? He dropped out.
I don't know.
Andrew.
I messaged
I
him.
didn't mean it, Andrew. I thought everything was going fine. He made some good points about Nietzsche in the beginning, and then
Yeah.
I don't
He's
know.
really smart. Yeah, we'll
well,
have
his
to do this again.
his read on
sometime.
Nietzsche was like, I mean, that was actually spot on. A lot of the stuff he was saying is like you could just capsulize what he said about Nietzsche on his first the first thing he started talking about. And that's almost like all you need to know about Nietzsche, like Nietzsche 101, because everything he said was right, and everything he said was basic, standard scholarship on Nietzsche. So he knows him pretty well. That was good.
If we do this again, we should go into the topic of man's search for meaning, because I think that has a lot of great stuff, especially like its tie-ins with Nietzsche and Peterson, and yeah.
Absolutely. And you know, maybe we can get some of the same people. People want to participate. We could have a free-floating group of scholars and intellects. What do you think?
Yeah, sounds great. Yeah, and thanks everybody who's been commenting during the live stream.
Are people in the live stream? Is anyone in the chat?
Yeah.
So watching us?
Gray Finsterwolf, he's been commenting a lot. Thanks. He's been like interacting with us in our conversations. Noda Network, he was listening in. Have you seen any of Noda Network's stuff?
I have not. Is he one of the people in your Peterson group?
No. He's kind of an offshoot from Owen Benjamin and Paul Vanderklay's kind of channels. And
awesome.
Yeah, he's been going through Peterson's Maps of Meaning and another similar person to Peterson, Northrop Frye, and like analyzing both of their books and how they relate to each other in regards to like Christianity and evolution and like epistemology, how we know what we know, and all that. It's a really great channel. Yeah,
that sounds that guy. Yeah, he'll be. We do this again. Point out his channel, check him out. But I'm pretty sure he'll be welcome. He can participate.
Definitely.
Who else? Anybody else that we know? Any of our friends? Nobody else. All right. That's sad. That's sad, John.
Apologist. Yeah. I was kind of hoping we would get some. I was hoping we would get some angry atheists in the chat, like talking about like how we're all idiots, things like that.
No, that doesn't usually happen all that much on mine. You're the only one who thought that I get hate comments. I don't usually. I get like one or two.
I watch your videos. You always get like half of your, like right now we have 4 upvotes and 2 downvotes on your live stream.
Oh yeah, I always get like 100 downvotes. Atheists watch this stuff, they just don't comment. So I get like 50. I like post like, and as far as I'm concerned, most of it is like really innocuous. It's not like it's not atheist bashing any of it. It's just critiquing some of the finer points of anti-theism, things like that. But I always get like 7 downvotes, 8 downvotes.
Yeah, it's cute of the atheists to at least it's something special you guys share between you. Like you can always rely on them to come and downvote every video you make. It's great.
Yeah, awesome. One day they'll see the light, John. One day they'll stop persecuting us.
One day they'll realize that any vote that you do on a video will actually up the attraction on YouTube algorithms. So like even if you have a video that has like 100 dislikes, it's still boosting the algorithm so that it's
is that true?
More yeah.
Oh, cool. All right.
One day they'll
bring it. You hear that, atheists? I'll take your bullets, atheists. I'll take your bullets. Downvote away. My stuff sucks. Make sure you tell everybody that. Tell everybody how bad my videos are. Downvote. They suck.
Hey,
Didn't work?
Gray Fencer Wolf is asking when Rationality Rules is going to debate you. Or actually, that might have been a question for Adam. Either way.
Oh, tell Adam. Yeah, set that up. I'll host that on my channel. That'd be fantastic. I don't think he will debate Adam though, will
Yeah,
he?
yeah, I don't think so. They've been like interacting kind of playfully on YouTube, but I don't know.
I don't think it's all that
It's
playful. I don't think
yeah,
Ratchet Rules is digging it all that much.
yeah. I think you're right.
But actually, Drew is friends with them, as far as I know. So
Oh yeah.
maybe I'll talk to Drew about seeing if I don't know if Drew and Adam get along. I'm not sure, but Drew. I know Drew is streamed
Probably
with
not.
Rationality Rules.
Mhm.
So and I'm sure Shannon's friends. Shannon's friends with all these people. Shannon's friends with everyone. But
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh yeah.
If Adam would be into it, I would love to see that. That would be great. I'm sure
Yeah,
Adam would like
we
it.
gotta like grow this strange community that's interconnected with like atheists and evolutionists and Christians, all these things and psychology, all this built kind of like a rat king tied together in like alternate ways, just pulling away from each other. We gotta keep
Yeah, I
on
mean,
tying
we
knots.
could do. It would be fun to have a thing with atheists too, but with where it's not a where it's not
Debate.
a
Yeah.
yes, where it's like we're all talking about because we're all on the same page like this was. We're
Mhm.
all talking about the same thing.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
if you can think of a topic like that,
Mhm.
I would do it.
Yeah.
I would have that. That'd be fun.
All right. You want to sign us off?
Thank you for showing up. If anybody is still here watching us, this was a meeting of the minds, people. It doesn't get any better than this. We had Adam friended. For a while, we had Nietzsche expert Andrew. How do you pronounce his last name?
Stratolades?
Stratolades?
Stratato?
Strateles? Andrew
Stratolades?
Strateles. I don't know. I always have trouble with it.
Stratolades. Oh, he said, yeah. So he had to rush off for some reason.
Oh, okay.
We'll have to
He
get him
said
back
that?
though. Yeah, yeah, on Twitter.
Yes. Yeah, we'll have a free floating group. It'll be fun. This is what I wanted to try to build up, like a group where we converse about stuff like this on a fairly regular basis.
Mhm.
So that is all for today, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for your participation. Thank you for coming and watching Minds at Work. You saw Stephanie, Christian apologist here. I hate her so much. Doesn't get any better than that, kids. I hate her so much. She's so evil. No, she's not. She's really not. All right, kids, sign us off, Johnny.